This is Meteo Mundo.
Hi friends, Rusty back here with your latest Meteo Mundo forecast. This is for early Friday morning on November the 10th. As I anticipated, we now have an area of interest from the National Hurricane Center in the Southwest Caribbean for potential tropical development over the next 7 days. So in this video, we're going to go over all of the newest information about that disturbance. We're going to look at over all the different models and why there is now a growing trend. And more than likely, we're going to get a tropical depression, tropical storm, maybe even a hurricane out of that area here for the week ahead. I promise you, I'm going to do another forecast video later in the day that, of course, will give us even the newest information on this disturbance, but also go over the weekend forecast across the rest of the Caribbean and the Bahamas. So look for that on the Meteo Mundo homepage later today as well. But again, this forecast video is about this disturbance. So let's get into it here. So newest information, late Thursday night, the National Hurricane Center has now put that area in yellow in the Southwest Caribbean for potential development over the next 7 days. Now, what you're seeing at this point in time out there has nothing to do with the actual disturbance that's developing. That's just more localized moisture in the Southwest Caribbean that's kind of feeding into portions of Central America. And there are some showers and storms also back down towards Panama and portions of Northern South America. But again, that's not the actual disturbance. It's really even yet to get going, and it might be a couple of days before anything happens out of that as well. But just like I've highlighted in the last several videos, this looks to be the breeding ground for our next disturbance. And again, the GFS model has been on it. The European model is beginning to come around to that solution as well, and showing at least a tropical depression forming in this area. Now, the timing and the intensity are still very much apart on the different computer models, and I'll show you that coming up as well. As we get into what the GFS is going to show us, I want to thank you very much for hitting the like button on this. And again, if you're not a subscriber to Meteo Mundo and you want to keep up with the latest on what's happening with this disturbance, make sure you hit the subscribe button. Hopefully it's highlighting for you out there as well. We appreciate that. All right, so I'm going to put the GFS model into motion here, and I'm going to let this run for basically the next week and a half. Again, we're focusing solely on what's going to be happening here in the Southwest Caribbean. So as we get into the late part of the weekend and then through the week, we're just going to continue to see this system develop on the GFS model. Now, it's still trending to move back to the north and to the east by the end of the week, and I'm going to show you why the GFS model is showing that solution. But let's take this step by step to begin with. So again, today is the 10th. As we get into late in the weekend, look at all of this moisture beginning to gather in the Southwest Caribbean. Again, sea surface temperatures are still outrageous, even though it's going to be the second week of November, well into the mid 80s, certainly can support tropical development and rapid development of that as well. And there's very little wind shear. So all signs point to this being, again, the area that we're going to get things going here. Now, as we get into the latter part, I'm going to back that up. As we get into the latter part of Monday and into Tuesday, this is when we really start on the GFS model to see this thing kind of get going. Now, regardless of that, look at all of the moisture, look at all of the heavy rain this could bring through portions of the Caribbean. We're talking about Hispaniola and Jamaica and Cuba and the Cayman Islands, maybe even portions of Central America. But then as we get into Thursday and Friday, that's when this system wraps up. And again, right now, this would be heading directly over portions of the Cayman Islands, but especially Jamaica, Cuba, and then into Hispaniola, southern side of the Bahamas, and the Turks and Caicos as a fairly significant system. Again, it's way too early in time to be talking about exact locations and exact strength and impacts. But again, you can go back the last several forecast videos I've done. The GFS model has been very consistent in this kind of solution. Again, a stronger storm developing quicker, but also becoming more intense by the end of next week. So for my friends, especially in the Cayman Islands and in Jamaica, I want you to stay very weather aware with this system. You know I'm going to keep you up to date, but again, at this point in time, we would have a very significant storm moving very close to your area that would then be moving off towards the north and to the east. I'm going to show you the European model coming up as well. it paints on, again, a system, but it will be a little bit weaker in a slower time frame. We'll look at that in just a second. We still don't have an invest, so we don't have the suite of tropical models running on this as of yet, but hopefully we'll get that invest area soon, and we'll be able to have even more data points, if you will, to be able to focus on. Let's talk about the winds out of the GFS model. I'm going to switch on over to the wind product here. Let me do one more button push. There we go. Okay, so this is going to be the wind profile. It's right at the end of the model. I had it loaded up ahead of time. So let's take a look at this. First of all, it's going to start to get very breezy throughout the Caribbean as we get through the weekend. But then again, so Monday the 13th, Tuesday the 14th, now we get into the 15th, and you can see that spin up. So as we get into basically Wednesday and then Thursday and Friday, that's when the GFS model really takes this storm, meandering, by the way, in the Southwest Caribbean, really not moving very quickly, and then really ramps it up quickly and shoves it off towards the north and to the east. So I'm going to let this play through time here, and you can just see again that quick turn north and east, getting stronger and stronger as it heads towards Jamaica, then through eastern Cuba, portions of Hispaniola, Turks and Caicos, southern side of the Bahamas. And there's a very quick turn to the north and to the east. And again, I'm going to show you why the GFS model is painting on that solution. But for November, that's not a outrageous solution because we have stronger mid-latitude cyclones that really kick up the wind profile. So again, if we're looking at our scale here, we're looking at very significant winds. Now, these are wind gusts. These are not sustained winds, but the GFS model would be supporting a very strong storm. And I don't want to get into storm versus hurricane at this point in time. But again, it is a much more intense storm than what you're going to see on the European model. But both of them are in very good agreement that we're going to have something going here in the Southwest Caribbean early next week. So let's switch over to the wind profile here on the GFS model. I'm going to zoom this out a little bit more and switch over, let's see, to these winds here. Okay, so what I'm showing you here is why the GFS model is going to start to turn that storm back off towards the north and to the east here. So let's hopefully get this looping. Oh, my RAM usage is critically high. Do you see how much data I'm trying to put on here for you guys? I've never seen that before, but I'm not surprised that my computer is suffering from all of the data that I'm trying to load. Sorry, that was kind of funny. Okay, here's the reason why. Let's get back. I'm going to let it loop one more time. Let's pause it right about here. So as this tries to get ramped up a bit here, okay, look what happens. We have this mid-latitude cyclone coming in the United States, and let's show you that. So look up here. We're going to start to see winds in the Gulf of Mexico with this system starting to turn out of the southwest and beginning to crank up. These are going to be strong low and mid-level winds, even upper-level winds, especially when you get up to the northeast. It's going to be a nasty storm for portions of the United States, but it's going to force our tropical system to turn north and east. The southwest winds ahead of that is going to force that storm to turn north and east. That's why it shouldn't gain a lot more latitude and get into the southern Gulf of Mexico. The GFS model is showing you that it has to go north and east based on this mid-latitude cyclone and some really intense winds that are going to be coming along with it, almost forcing it to be pushed more off towards the east. So that's why the GFS model is showing you that kind of a turn. Obviously, that's something we're going to keep a very close eye on for you here, but there's science behind it. That's the exact reason why. Let's swing over to the European model. I showed you the pressure plots last time as well. It's about the same scenario, just more members of the European ensemble showing you this storm. Now, this takes us out until Wednesday. It's farther south than the GFS model. It is weaker than the GFS model, but it's in agreement with the GFS model that we are going to have a tropical system developing in the Southwest Caribbean. You can see all of those low pressure plots on the ensemble members. So again, the European model is coming more into agreement with the GFS, or two major global models are getting more in agreement with the opportunity for development. This is the European model's chance of development of a tropical depression over the next 10 days. And you're going to see as this loops, we get a very high chance, up to that 90, even 100% chance of development of a tropical depression, okay? So more than likely, we're gonna have a tropical depression in the Southwest Caribbean. Both the European model and the GFS model are in agreement with that. When I show you the chance of a tropical storm on the European model, it's gonna be slightly lower, in that 30% range, and obviously it's going to be farther north because the depression would develop in the Southwest Caribbean, and then as it moves north, it gathers strength, and that's where we have the opportunity for a tropical storm. I do want you to notice that the European model is highlighting that area right now over Jamaica. So overall, the European model was also picking up on the same track of the GFS and trying to push that system back north and east once it develops in the Southwest Caribbean. But it is slower in time, so we're talking about even later next week and then the weekend beyond, and it is weaker, but it still has the potential for at least a tropical storm in this area as well. If you kind of get the picture here, it all is pointing towards something that we need to monitor very closely for the week ahead. Okay, so couple things to note here before we wrap up. First of all, I'm going to take myself off the screen. Meteo Mundo is everywhere, friends, and you can follow us on all of our different social media platforms. We are on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and of course you can email us. So we give you updates there as well if you kind of want to get the little snippets on TikTok and on Instagram. And if you want to send us some photos or you want to send us some videos, do that to mymediamundo@gmail.com. That's probably the best way to send those. You can put them on our Instagram page as well. We'll certainly take them anywhere you want to give us. But again, we're everywhere. We'd love to see you there. Okay, let's get back to, again, the GFS model here. I kind of want to wrap this up actually with kind of taking a look at, again, this area of interest. Now, it's something that we have time to monitor, and that's exactly what we're going to be doing here at Meteo Mundo. We're going to keep you updated on it again, but anywhere in the Western Caribbean, I would be keeping a very close eye on this. Again, subscribing to the channel is a way to keep up on it. If you have a specific question about the forecast that I haven't answered, drop that in the comment section below. Obviously, there's going to be a lot of questions still with this, and it's something that as we go through the days, you and I can work on together. We'll certainly keep you updated here as we move through the week. And again, I'll be making another forecast video later in the day. We'll obviously give you the updates on this disturbance, but then we'll get into the weekend forecast across all of the Caribbean and the Bahamas as well. All right, friends, I know it's November, but here we go. Another system to monitor for the week ahead. Thank you so much again for tuning in. We appreciate you liking and subscribing as well. And we'll see you shortly right here at Meteo Mundo.